Tiesel's Tudor Trivia!
Hi, welcome to the latest edition of Teasel's Tudor Trivia. Oh, you're tired already? Well, she's had a bit of a break recently. Some of you have been asking where she's been. Well, she's been busy chasing cats and having fun, haven't you? Yes, she has. Now, you may remember the videos that Teasel and I did on Tudor babies and the clothes worn by babies and toddlers, and I'll give you links to those in the description in case you missed them. But today we're going to look at what Tudor children wore after toddlerhood. So let's look at boys first of all. Well, boys between the ages of 4 and 7 usually wore a shirt and petticoat topped with a coat or a doublet and skirt. And yes, I do mean skirt. I'm not misreading it. I don't mean shirt, I mean skirt. On their heads, instead of biggins, which were close-fitting linen caps, they would wear a knitted cap or a bonnet or a felt hat with a high crown. Silk bonnets were popular with the very wealthy. At some point between the ages of 5 and 8, a boy was breeched. Now that sounds rather painful, doesn't it? But this was the moment that a boy would move from wearing a skirt, just like his sister, to wearing hose and breeches. Younger breeched boys wore knitted hose, while older boys wore cloth hose, which were closer to a man's hose. Then came slops or breeches. Slops were loose, baggy knee length and straight, and were popular until the 1570s, when breeches became more popular. Although the book The Tudor Child, which I'll show you in a bit, points out that they may well have been the same item, just with the word breeches becoming used more frequently. On the top half of the body, a shirt was worn, and over this, a doublet, a buttoned jacket which attached to the hose with ties. Doublets consisted of a top fabric lining and interlining, and at the start of Henry VIII's reign featured a low square neckline, which became higher as his reign went on, just fashions changing. Eventually, the high neckline turned into a standing collar. And they might also be decorated with cuts, slashes, as men's doublets often were. Then came the coat, which in Henry VIII's reign tended to be lined, fastened down the front with buttons or hooks, and have a fitted bodice and a pleated or gathered skirt. The sleeves could be plain or puffed. And they were fairly long at the start of the 16th century, but by the mid-16th century had shortened to end above the knee. They also started to have shaped skirts rather than pleats. And don't worry that you're not seeing this. I will be sharing lots of portraits at the end just so that you can see what these boys were wearing. Youths might also wear a jerkin or jacket like their fathers. And at the start of the 16th century, they would wear a gown too. For youths, gowns were replaced by cloaks from the 1550s. Headwear tended to still be a knitted cap or a bonnet made out of fabrics like velvet. Accessories for boys included girdles with fittings for daggers or swords, or even sword belts, or girdles from which hung penners and inkhorns. An inkhorn held ink, and a penner was a pen holder. These were attached to the girdle by cords. A boy might also have handkerchiefs, gloves, a dagger and a rapier. Now, Jane Huggety and Ninya Mikhaila in this wonderful book, The Tudor Child, which is all about Tudor costume for children, write that girls from around the ages of 3 or 4 wore simplified versions of women's clothing. They were mini women. Their outfit tended to consist of a smock, which, depending on the outer garment, could have a high or low neckline. Square-necked ones could be decorated around the neckline with things like blackwork embroidery, just like women's ones, because that would actually show, that little border would show. Then there was the petticoat or kirtle, just as for women. The popular colour for petticoats was red, and Henry VII's 6-year-old daughter, Mary Tudor, who of course ended up marrying King Louis XII and Charles Brandon, was given a scarlet petticoat. Like toddler ones, it's thought that petticoats were sleeveless with front opening bodices and pleated or gathered skirts. Kirtles were also thought to have been sleeveless in the early part of the 16th century, but in 1544, 10-year-old Princess Elizabeth was provided with a kirtle made from cloth of silver and with sleeves. Then there were the sleeves. Full-length sleeves were pinned to the kirtle at the shoulders, but some girls also wore four sleeves, which, and I don't mean four as in the number four, I mean four as in F-O-R-E, four sleeves, which attached at the elbow. Then there was the gown. Higher class girls would wear a gown like a French gown or a looser fitting English gown over a petticoat and kirtle, whereas working class girls would tend to just wear a waistcoat and petticoat. The French gown that came into fashion in Henry VIII's reign featured a close-fitting bodice, a full skirt that was gathered or pleated onto the bodice, a low square neckline, and a variety of sleeve styles. As girls got older, they might add shape to their skirt by using a padded roll, a bum roll, or a farthingale. This was a hooped skirt made from linen canvas and stiffened with rope. And what about headwear? Well, ribbons for hair are often found in inventories and expenses, so girls appear to have worn their hair plaited or braided under their headdress. That's crossing over the head to sort of be a framework for their headdress. Then there was a coif, kerchief or close-fitting cap, and this would be topped with a simple bonnet. Huggety and Mikhaila described this bonnet as comprising a stiffened gable-shaped band at the front with a gathered bag attached to cover the hair. Older girls might wear a French hood, or perhaps an English gable hood, but of course the French hood was very fashionable in Henry VIII's reign. In Henry VIII's reign, girls would wear neckerchiefs of fine fabric, and other accessories included penners and inkhorns, just like for the boys, girdles, fans and dolls. Now, when you look at portraits of Tudor families and children, be aware that the children you see dressed in skirts might not be girls. Look for accessories like swords or daggers. Those are boys that just haven't got to the age of breeching yet. I'm just going to show you a couple of pictures from the Tudor chart, and I'll actually share better versions of the portraits for you to see close up. But in this portrait here, you would think that we're looking at three girls. They're actually three boys. All three of those are boys. And then we have mother and children in this one here. And we have two boys and a girl. And the older boy has actually got a sword or a rapier there. That shows that, you know, he's a bit more important. He's the eldest. So don't be fooled by the skirts. They're just boys that haven't reached the age to wear breeches yet. Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting. I hope you enjoyed looking at all the portraits. And I do recommend this book. It's quite expensive, but for those of you that like sewing, you can actually make Tudor costume for your children because it's actually got patterns. So a wonderful book, very, very good. Teasel. Teasel's just showing off, you know, her wonderful royal purple nappy here. Oh, there is a cat. She's off. Thank you for joining us. You can subscribe to the channel by clicking just about there. You can hit the bell to be notified as these go live, and you can give us a like, especially a like for that end bit of Teasel zoning in on that cat, and leave a comment. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Teasel's Tudor Trivia.